Welcome back. The talk here in Washington today is about a possible compromise deal being bandied about in the halls of the U.S. Senate. 12 senators, 6 Democrats, 6 Republicans. They met this morning. They have been working on some details of their plan, which may be the best hope so far in getting a deal done on the shutdown and raising the nation's debt ceiling. Joining us now from Capitol Hill is Virginia Republican Congressman Scott Rigell. Congressman, thanks very much for coming in. Well, what do you think? Let's say this passes. Some sort of language passes in the Senate. It's got a bunch of Republicans on board, bunch of Democrats. It comes to the House of Representatives. Do you believe your Speaker, the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, would let it come up for a vote, even if a majority of the Republicans are not necessarily on board? A lot of Republicans like you would be on board, but if the majority were not on board, that so-called Hastert rule, do you think he would let it come up for a vote, get the government reopened, and avoid any sort of default?
Well, if it appears that there is no other option whatsoever, that's probably the case. But, Wolf, let's make it clear here. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm a Ford dealer who came up here just a little over 2 years ago swinging a big bat to get our fiscal house in order. So I'm one of the most conservative members of Congress. I did say on the first shutdown that we needed to have a clean CR come to the floor, because I thought what would happen is, as this thing unfolded, just as it has, we'd be in quite a quagmire with respect to what we're asking for as Republicans. And it's unfortunate, I think, that what we've been advocating for has been a little bit unclear here in the last few days. But what's needed, Wolf, is for us to not default. It's for us to fund this government and simultaneously and importantly get reforms that slow down the rate of growth of mandatory spending. This is equally as important, and I really see that my Democratic colleagues, and principally, Senator Reid, I just don't see the leadership there. There's a real reluctance on his part that I see, and a real commitment and a sense of urgency on the part of Republicans, and I'm proud of that.
Well, what if Harry Reid works out a deal with Mitch McConnell and they get that kind of compromise that you're looking for? I assume if that were to pass overwhelmingly, decisively in the Senate, you and a whole bunch of other Republicans would join, presumably, almost all of the Democrats, not necessarily all of them, but almost all of those 200 Democrats, and get it passed.
Well, the key, I think, is how long these things are. If we have a short-term CR, maybe December 15th, that's a good time because it allows us to have our appropriations process move forward. Now, on the debt limit, I think anything beyond June of next year is really not wise, and here's why. We need that pressure point. I wish we didn't have to have a pressure point from my Democratic colleagues, but we do need one, and that would give us the time to advance a longer-term solution. And I think what every American has to ask his or her member of Congress, Senate or House, is this: do you either have a plan that puts America on a better fiscal path, or are you supporting one? And, Wolf, last week I launched the America First plan to get America back on track financially. And look, it may not be the best plan. I think it is. But even if it's not, this place is run off of something I call it ought to be. We ought to be reforming mandatory spending. I've heard that since I've been here, Wolf. I'm over it. We need leaders to rise up and put out specific, definitive plans.
Very quickly, I want to get your quick reaction, because over the weekend there was a rally over at the Lincoln Memorial, and we really heard some outrageous comments from Larry Klayman of Freedom Watch at this rally. I'm going to play them for you because I want to get your reaction. Listen to this.
I call upon all of you to wage a second American nonviolent revolution, to use civil disobedience, and to demand that this president leave town, to get out, to put the Quran down, to get up off his knees, and to figuratively come up with his hands up.
When you hear that kind of language, what do you think?
Well, if I have a visceral response to that, and I repudiate it. It doesn't reflect my own personal values. My 90-year-old father right now, Ike Rigell, a World War II veteran, he was at Iwo Jima. He's listening right now. And he raised me to say, it's always the President of the United States. We respect the office, and that type of language is harmful to our country, and it's what's pulling us apart. Look, civility is not weakness. I refer to the President as the President in my home, in my office, and in my district. And I think this needs to be done all across America. It's not about an individual. It's about the office. And this is the fabric that holds us together as Americans.
Well said. You can certainly disagree with policies, but you have to respect the President of the United States. He is the President not only twice elected, but the last time by more than 5 million votes of the American people. Scott Rigell of Virginia, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.